Well, good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. So in the spirit of startups, I'll dispense with salutations, and I've also dispensed with my diplomatic attire of a tie. And really happy to be here. It's really a great day for all of us to start something which we've been thinking about for a very long time. The launch of the India-Singapore Entrepreneurship Bridge. That's really a mouthful, and I think my good friend Sanjeev Iyer came up with something which is easier to handle, which is InSpreneur. And as you just heard, it's a word for inspiration. Now, this is something that has taken a year, been a year in the making. And, but it's personally really gratifying that it has come together. And what a response it has been. The start of a year, we have, despite being invitations only, 600 registrations, 250 startups, about 100 investors. And that just shows how much latent potential there is for a bridge of this nature to define the future of our partnership. And what seeded the idea was when I came here, I obviously came here with certain familiar expectations, certain knowledge, blame it on my being from a world of diplomatic community. But what struck me most, and what was the discovery of great excitement, was this absolutely wonderful, vibrant, talented pool of startups, young, brilliant minds in Singapore. So many of them from India, keen to connect back, to be part of this great transformation, the great story of change that is taking place in India. These are people who came up with fantastic ideas, not just for enterprise solutions or for payment systems, but also for things that could be transformative, transform the lives of ordinary people in the areas of healthcare, in agriculture, in simply providing better access to education, affordable, renewable energy, something that could address something as simple as making India cleaner, and mission that is very dear to the Prime Minister. So you had a full spectrum of ideas, concepts, startups, but it wasn't just them. It was also that everyone I met here, all the young startups, young innovators, entrepreneurs, they had the aspiration to be in India because they said that if they want to be global, India had to be the platform, both in terms of its scale and talent. And then at the beginning of the year, as you know, there was the report in Singapore of the Committee on the Future Economy, which at its heart had simply two words: connectivity and digital. And then when I met the Monetary Authority of Singapore, they were talking about how they can retain Singapore's centrality as a financial hub in an age of financial disruptions, where those who are going to define finance would not come from the world of finance, but with the world of information technology. And they also realized that if they had to make this work, there was one country they needed to connect with, and that was with India. And then we had the permanent secretary of the Smart Nation Organization of Singapore, going to India to study the India stack. Now, this reminded me of the time when I was in Delhi and the United Nations approached us to see if they could replicate this extraordinary story of transformation across Africa as part of the UN Sustainable Development Goals initiatives. There are times when you realize that we are so used to be followers in India that we often miss what we see when we are ahead of others. And it has almost taken the whole world to recognize this extraordinary story unfolding across the length and breadth of the country. And indeed, it is a digital revolution in the making in India that is transforming governance. It is changing the way public services are delivered. It is empowering the weak, mainstreaming the marginalized, bringing the formal sectors of the economy closer to the people in the remotest of the villages. It has brought banking, insurance, pensions, delivery of government benefits within the direct reach of hundreds of millions of people in the course of just 3 years. And it isn't just about a bank account when 300 million bank accounts get opened or 99% of the country gets covered by it. It is also about identity, about dignity. So when this change is taking place, and it is something like a silent revolution, and all at an extraordinarily frugal means. But this isn't just that. You'll have 250,000 villages in India connected by broadband, 250,000 common service centers to deliver 12 kinds of services, creating extraordinary opportunities of employment in rural areas. It is unleashing a new wave of entrepreneurship, changing mindsets from job seekers to job creators, not just in cities like Mangalore, Chennai, Gurgaon, Hyderabad, but it is also in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, in villages. That is the kind of change that is taking place, and sometimes it isn't so obvious to us because it isn't so visible. And that is a great story to tell the world, that we can actually leapfrog an entire phase in the development paradigm. And then, of course, we have this second largest ecosystem of startups. And nothing less was expected from the brilliant young minds of Indians. And today, when you have a startup hub which has 180,000 users, and I hate talking about numbers when it comes to this field because you could be obsolete by the hour. So I will, though my penchant for statistics is well known, I will refrain myself from getting into that. So this is a time when you have 1,500 MNCs now moving to India in the last 3 to 4 years for R&D. But the idea of startups, as I said, must also extend to the 600,000 villages, where if we create jobs or 5 new enterprises every year, and this is the exciting dimension, and each of them creates 10 jobs, the challenge of employment in India can be resolved. And this is what the power of digital technology has made possible. And this is what Prime Minister Narendra Modi said in Silicon Valley in September 2014, when speaking to 400 IT CEOs. He said, if you see the exponential pace and scale of expansion of social media, then you have to also believe that it is possible to transform the lives of those who have lived on the margins of hope for generations. And this is what we are achieving. So on the one hand, it is changing the development paradigm, improving inclusion. On the other hand, it has unleashed a phenomenal level of entrepreneurship and enterprise. It is changing the way corporates work. And we are now entering that phase where from a human capital-driven industry, we are moving into the next phase of artificial intelligence, data mining, Internet of Things. exploding with the talent and enterprise of the Indian youth. Now, when we speak of the startup ecosystem, there are different kinds of model. You can think of the anarchic world of America, where things happen in a sort of a spontaneous way. But you can think of India and you can think of Singapore, where there is a strategic choice that has been made by governments to create the environment, provide the incentives, build the infrastructure, create fiscal regimes, institutional arrangements that can actually stimulate this. And it was necessary in India because of the fragmented nature of the market, the disparities that existed, the barriers to opportunities that many felt they had. And in the course of this last 3 years, you've seen that happen. You've seen how funds got started, incubators, accelerators, tinkering missions. You've seen fiscal incentives of the most liberal kinds being put into place. But it isn't just about, again, you look at some of the things that other departments and ministries have done. You look at Mudra, a scheme of financing micro enterprises in rural areas. 39 million loans have been extended, 75% of which have gone to women. This is the nature of change that is taking place. And this is also something which I think we need to project to the world. This is our great new way of exporting to the world. And in the course of this 1 year, I probably have spent more time and have enriched myself more, learned more, got more excited by meeting this wonderful pool of talented minds, creative minds, people who are confident about what they believe in, eager to achieve it, looking for opportunities to do it. Singapore understands this, India understands this. We have an extraordinary strategic partnership that encompasses every field of human endeavor and aspiration and interest, from geopolitics to defense and security, to every dimension of business, to culture, of course, and you shall see this in the course of the next 2 days at Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. But this adds a new dimension to our partnership, a dimension that will be a defining partnership in this century. And in the course of these few months, we've been talking to Singapore for a number of things. We will do some great stuff on the startups, as we are doing now. We are talking with MAS on some new frontiers of fintech, including connecting our payment systems, eKYC, the regulations, the tech regulations that are needed. So a whole range of things we're working on. But I also think, and here's the big idea, that we can work together to transform the digital landscape and the development paradigm across all of ASEAN. Because in many ways, they mirror what we went through. We have, in ASEAN, 50% internet penetration, 133% mobile penetration, and you can see the same disparities from Singapore down to Laos and Cambodia. Now, 50% of the people only have bank accounts, 69% of government payments, 71% of normal transactions are in cash, 25% of loans are only taken from formal institutions, 80% of utility bills are paid in cash. So here's the great opportunity for transformation. And this is something that we, as India and Singapore, can work together in advancing across all of ASEAN. It'll open governance, and this whole area of inclusion is an entirely new world of opportunities. And we can be the leaders in it again, India and Singapore working together. So this is the idea that led to the launch of InSpreneur. This is not going to be the only event. This is going to be a regular feature. And this has to be, we have to come out and market ourselves aggressively. We have to create those opportunities where we will succeed and be the leaders and not just followers. And this event has been so extremely well curated. We have speed dating, we have investor pitch, and if there's one thing that will tell you about the extraordinary potential, that in the context of PBD, we ran an online challenge for 6 problems, the grand challenges. 3 were on social themes, 3 on enterprise solutions. All of them as part of India's flagship initiatives. This is for the Indian youth, the Indian diaspora youth, as part of the PBD. There have been 100 outstanding, really outstanding contributions from areas ranging from Internet of Things for smart cities to the financial inclusion, to clean energy, to clean India, and so on and so forth. It is hard to choose who's going to be the winner, but those who will win will be taken to India, will be, of course, given seed capital, will be sent through mentoring and other institutions. So this is the way we can connect each other and harness this wonderful potential. And I'd like to really say a word of thanks to all of those who have been deeply involved with it. The journey wouldn't have been so much fun had it not been for great partnerships, the hours we have spent together ideating this, of course, the Pan IIT Alumni Association, my own alumni association, the IM Alumni Association, the TIE, the Ivy Cap, which is, again, an institution that has completely new way of connecting people. We have great support from DSCI, Data Security Council of India, very important partner in this venture. We have CII, we have FICCI, and of course, we have the Invest India, great institution from Delhi. And of course, without the extraordinary support and organizational ability of D-Ideas, this event would not have been possible. So we look forward to a very interesting day of connecting people, seeding new ideas, and laying the foundations of new enterprises and new partnerships. Thank you very much.